As long as you remain loyal, faithful, and true, then our enemies don't even stand a chance. Our rights will never be stolen. Our freedoms will never be trampled. Our destiny will never be denied. And the United States of America will never be defeated. With the grace of God and the heroes of West Point, America will always prevail. Nothing will stand in your way. Nothing will slow you down. And nothing will stop the West Point class of 2020 from achieving a true and lasting victory. God bless you. God bless the United States Army. And God bless America.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q post. Q reminding us of what they're trying to throw down the memory hole and why. So we're going to talk about that. Plus, I hope you guys stick around. We have an interview with Dustin Nemos to get an update on the battle against internet censorship. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. So I hope you guys stick around and check out that and a whole lot more. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know the drill. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Make sure you hit the bell also, and then select all so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. Plus, stick around at the end. We do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today, we're going to do a verse out of Galatians chapter 5, verse 22, and we're going to talk about the fruit of the Spirit and what it means. So I hope you guys stick around to hear about that good message. But before we get into that, we have to pick up right where we left off. We left off at Q post 4480, picking up at 4481. So we're going to go through the latest Q posts, and then I'm going to play an interview that I did with Dustin Nemos about censorship. So I hope you guys stick around to watch that as well, because it's an important conversation that is an update on where the whole process is with us trying to stop the censorship from Google and these big tech, big social media platforms, and how they're suppressing conservatives and Christians and everyone and taking away their right to the First Amendment. And we're going to talk about what that means and what's happening. So I hope you guys stick around for that as well. But first, a quick reminder to go download the Brave browser today. You can get it for free using the link in the description, and that way they know I sent you. You're going to get a great product, an internet browser that will replace whatever you're using, and it blocks the ads, and it makes your internet experience so much better, and it's free, so check it out. Use the link in the description today to download the Brave browser. All right, so we're going to get into the latest Q post. First thing here is this Breitbart News article. First, Q gives us this post to Breitbart News on Twitter, where it says, German officials placed children with pedophiles for 30 years. This is a new report that's uncovering that the Berlin government-backed pedophile network was actively seeking to place homeless children with pedophiles. Now, you can read through the story for yourself, but it talks about a former chancellor of West Germany, Berlin. Senators, bureaucrats, and members of the educational establishment have all been implicated in a network, quote, in which pedophile positions were accepted, supported, and defended, unquote, according to a report in the placement of homeless children with known pedophile foster parents by the German government. So, again, everything that the fake news wants to tell you is a lie about what we're covering here, what we're trying to expose, what we're trying to do is really what's happening. And that's the sick, sad, truth. The depravity is real. The fake news lies to cover it up. They gaslight us to pretend that it's not happening because they're trying to cover up for the people in the positions of power who are engaged in this behavior. Plus, a lot of them themselves may or may not be involved. So to me, it's just so disturbing. This is why we do this. We fight for the children who have no choice, who can't protect themselves, who are being harmed every day by sick pedophiles and then people inside of the system, where a system is actually, in this case, created and run to continue to put these children through untold pain and misery. And it is a sick and disgusting practice, and we have to stop it. And that's what this article is highlighting, is that it's happening, right? From, quote, a network of actors in the Senate administration and institutions of educational reforms during the home reform of the 1970s tolerated the establishment of shared apartments and foster homes for pedophile men. So they're putting kids in these homes apparently, and if you want to read through it, it's really a disturbing tale, and I hope you guys check it out for yourself and read through it. But ultimately, that's what Q's pointing us to first, saying only when evil is forced to light can we defeat it. Only when they can no longer operate in the shadows can people see the truth for themselves. Only when people see the truth for themselves will people understand the true nature of their deception. These are difficult truths, Q. So, yeah, it is difficult truth, and it is so sad, but we have to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, especially young children. And in this case, the next post Q gives us goes even further, talking about Twitter allowing pedophiles to discuss their attraction to minors, but disallowing conservatives and the president of the United States to talk about, oh, I don't know, the fact that you have a porous border where we have who knows how many drugs and guns and criminals coming up through, or the fact that the Chinese coronavirus came from China, or a myriad of different other things that they will not allow the discussion of on their platform. And the story goes on to cite the Big League Politics story that discovered this little notice quietly enacted Twitter rule change from March, which says, quote, discussions related to child sexual exploitation as a phenomenon or attraction towards minors are permitted, provided they don't promote or glorify child sexual exploitation in any way. So, as it says here, if you post a politically inconvenient yet correct or accurate statistical fact, you get suspended, but if you discuss attraction toward minors, Twitter explicitly allows it. That's the level of depravity and just complete satanic evil we're up against here, ladies and gentlemen. And you can read through this article if you want to get more information on it. And the other article they can link to is this bizarre, from Fox News, talking about the bizarre Facebook policy or Facebook survey that asks users if they condone pedophilia. Well, why would you even ask that question? Of course you shouldn't condone pedophilia. It's illegal to actually go out and to do that kind of thing to children. So why is Facebook asking about it? Oh, because they want to see if they can get away with making it, just a part of their policy to be acceptable, right? While they silence conservatives, while they silence Christians, while they silence people who stand up for things like the right to life, the right to fight against abortion, which is the mass genocide of unborn children inside of our society, that simultaneously you have Facebook and Twitter and all these other companies putting together, policies to help condone this kind of pedophilia. It really is a sign of the times we live in, and Q points us directly to it to say, difficult truths, this is not another 4-year election, Q. So that's what we have so far, and I can tell you right now that these are difficult truths, and it's going to take quite some time for us to get through what is actually happening, especially as the historians will have to go back and look at everything that happened here and see that we were on the right side of history when others were on the wrong side. And that's just, it's sad, and it's where we are. It's where we're at. So, I wanted to talk about that because we wanted to get through these posts, but also I wanted to talk about the thing that we covered yesterday, talking about the Department of Justice and this issuing a statement on recommendations for reform to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. So today I sat down with Dustin Nemos, who is a content creator, and he is an entrepreneur, and he is somebody who has helped organize actively members of the content creating community to come together, those who are being censored, those who are being deplatformed, those who are being demonetized, to be able to work together to expose this practice and to end it once and for all. So that's what we're going to talk about here in this interview. I hope you guys stick around and watch that, and then we'll wrap it up. Today, being joined by a good friend of mine, Dustin Nemos, and he's a man of many talents, many hats, does a lot of different things. But one thing he has had an experience with, just like me and a lot of other people in this community, is censorship. And that's what we're having him on today to talk about. So welcome, Dustin, to the show.
Hey, Craig. Thanks for having me back on.
Absolutely. So I guess we're going to start off with the elephant in the room, which is your Twitter account, which has been, removed in its entirety from existence. It's been put into the memory hole, as they say, never to be seen again. And it was your personal Twitter account that you were using to promote your channel, to promote your shopping network that you've created, and to promote other things that you believe in, other causes. So I guess we'll start there. Tell me what happened with your Twitter channel or your Twitter, channel, I guess you'd call it.
Sure.
And tell me what happened. Yeah, it's okay. And tell me what that, process was like, and what you think caused it.
Okay, they're good now. Anyway, they must have heard like a squirrel or something. So what happened originally is it was either Ilhan Omar or Alyssa Milano. I said something back to them one day, and that's all it takes. I really believe they have their own ban button. But not only did they ban my main Twitter account, Dustin Nemos, they also banned my YouTube backup account for my news company, Nemos News, which is it's also a backup YouTube channel, but we had a Twitter for that account. And it wasn't as popular, but they took them both out at the same time for no reason, just to get rid of me. And as you said, memory hole.
So you think it was something that happened with Ilhan Omar?
Yes, it had to be, because it was within 5 minutes of me saying something back to them. It wasn't even anything bad. And I don't remember exactly even what I said, but it was something to the extent of standing up and exposing the contradiction in their statement, or the hypocrisy or something like that. And, there's a lot of that on both of their Twitter feeds, obviously, with the Me Too movement, with politics in general. And they had just said something that irked me again. So I always like to kind of expose it with logic. And that's, it holds a powerful mirror up to what they're trying to do to people, which is to lie. And, even a small account can sometimes irk them and get you banned pretty quick.
I've seen it myself quite a few times now. And seeing it happen to you, though, is something that, is really bothering me, because we're seeing all these major moves by big tech, and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So we've learned basically that if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk, and that they're not going to stop, right? That's a quote from Air Force One. So with Harrison Ford. So I just figured I'd throw that in there. But to me, is it really a part of what Q is telling us, right? The stuff that we're reading on the Q post, where it talks about this insurrection, this insurgency, this movement to weaponize all of the platforms, the social media platforms, against conservatives in the run-up to the 2020 election? Are they trying to deplatform us to affect the outcome of the election? Is that what your opinion is? And if so, kind of tell us what you think about that.
Sure. I mean, right now I got at least one fake news outlet, Media Matters, stalking me, looking for ways to get me deplatformed, or the sponsors that support my channel deplatformed. I mean, there's even one image of my channel where I interviewed Dr. Judy Mikovits that's just an image of the video with my channel, and it shows my face, it shows her face, and that's it. There's no article attached to it. It's hosted on their website. If you search it, it's weird.
Well, when you look at what Q's told us about this, and you look at what we've seen actually happen in real time, the actions taken by these people, and you also look at the Justice Department coming out and weighing in on this recently. Yeah. So the Justice Department just issued a recommendation for the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Now, for anyone out there who doesn't understand the Section 230, it is basically a portion of this Communications Decency Act which actually grants immunity to these large social media companies and the big tech platforms, because there's some sort of social contract agreement where they've agreed to be an open speech platform and not become publishers or editorializing their content. But at the same, so in that they're given immunity. But now, if they're just pulling people's entire social media accounts down, then we have to have some sort of guidance on what we're going to do to enforce the Section 230. So, long story short, the DOJ issued this latest statement regarding what's happening with Section 230, and they talk about promoting open discourse and greater transparency. Do you think that the DOJ is going to be able to help fix this, or do you think they're going to make it worse by putting this government intervention in that may end up further censoring conservative voices on the platform? What do you think?
I think that what's about to happen is the DOJ is going to go down the path of reinterpretation. They're going to look at the same law under a new interpretation so that they don't have to worry about trying to change the law with an executive order. This is reinterpreting what was badly interpreted. And what I think is the response is that they will outright ban every one of us from these platforms. But every reaction has a reaction, so it's going to create something new and something big, and there's going to be a new clear winner in the market, something like a BitChute or a Gab or a PARLER, something where people flock to that, that becomes the next big thing, and they respect freedom of speech or not. But we'll have a new option, and I think that's going to be the big takeaway. And as Q said, these companies are going to collapse under the weight of their own illegality. Eventually, that means we got to find somewhere else to go, and that means I think being everywhere at once is probably the wise place. Staying on YouTube, staying on Twitter, but bringing people with us.
Yeah, I agree. And so let's kind of look at what you've been doing over the last, I don't know, couple of years at least. Since I've known you, I know you've always been very impassioned about censorship online. You've always taken it very seriously. You've been a part of several movements to try to address this issue legally using, different tactics, basically, to get people together behind an idea of, standing up to big tech. You did the movement Stop Bit Burning with the intent of, addressing the digital book burning of our era, which is these big tech censors coming in and, like they've just done to you on Twitter, thrown your entire work into the memory hole because they disagree with you, or politically they need to remove you and remove your voice to affect the outcome in the upcoming election, presumably. So, tell us what that movement looks like now, and are you hopeful, or have there been any updates? What's going on with the bit burning movement, and where is that headed?
Well, it's been quiet, at least on the surface, because of coronavirus and everything that's been going on since then. I mean, the headlines have been largely dominated by the left, but we're waiting for that to turn, and we're up to 230 people on the email list, and that's that's the email list of content creators. That's you and me and a couple of hundred other people who have channels like this working together, and that's over 10, maybe 15, maybe 20, I don't know an accurate number at this point, million people. If you total all of our different subscribers up, we could reach if we worked together. So, that's a lot of ifs, but they're all interested in this. And we're sort of helping to lead the charge for a class action lawsuit against Google and against big tech in general for what they've done. We're going to help hold them accountable. We're still waiting for the right time to strike right now. Obviously, with the DOJ and the executive order and all of this recent action, I think I've seen Gates and others who are in the news even today talking about censorship being the primary issue of our time. Kind of my interpretation of what he had said. I think we're at that point now where something's about to change and the floodgates are going to open. And I think at that point, the stopbitburning.com movement, as you said, digital book burning, we're primed as the tip of the spear, and we're ready to just unify everybody. And as you mentioned, tactics, the tactic is where we go one, we go all. The tactic is just working together at a round table called freedom of speech. And that's the one issue I saw that unified everyone, no matter what their particular passion topic was. You've got some people who are in this truth movement because of vaccines. You've got some people in here that are spreading the gospel. You've got some people that are just out there trying to bring down the corrupt criminals or the traitors. I mean, but all of us are being censored equally. So that is the one issue that unifies us. And by bringing that many people together, we finally have that power, as Q says, where, they want us divided, but together we're invincible. And I think that's the appropriate solution to not just censorship, but most of society's problems. I think bringing us together, getting the conversation going with censorship could lead to great things. But I also think we're going to win in court too. We also, bringing super lawyers and the Google whistleblower with us.
Yeah, no, the Google whistleblower, Zach Voorhees, has been very helpful in just kind of doing a lot of legwork research and everything that is necessary to going into this battle against, what you would basically call a Goliath, right? Which is Google and these big tech companies and the way that they control information and censor us. And so some specific examples, right? I always find this interesting to go through specific examples, because not necessarily because I'm, a lot of people are, if you go online and say, look at the censorship, look at the algorithm suppression, look at the way they do it in the comments, all that stuff. They go, oh, well, you're just complaining because, you want more money or something. And you go, well, if you don't realize that this is becoming the accepted norm for, discourse inside of our country, that is the scary part. That's why we keep drawing a light to this. That's why we want to get this addressed legally and lawfully. And I mean, look at what's happening in the Supreme Court today. Some of these decisions don't give me a lot of hope for the future of this country unless we actually start addressing this stuff head on and from my end, let's just go through my channel. They've started censoring my comments, so they just remove comments that they don't like, basically. They've obviously been suppressing the videos that I put up using their algorithm suppression. They've obviously taken away my monetization. I've documented that, and they've accused my channel of producing harmful content. And then also you look at all the other stuff that they've done that you can't even prove, right? Because that's the stuff that we can basically look at the numbers and statistics and say it's very likely that this is what they were doing. And if you compare like my channel's growth rate before they started it compared to after, the censorship, the adpocalypse, all that stuff, I mean, it's just the numbers don't lie. And the same, I think, for you. So tell us about your channel and what you're experiencing, because now I'm experiencing it, by the way, on Twitter, where they've frozen my follower count, as in I'm not growing. I was getting like 7,000 followers a month. Now I have like barely a few hundred. And then it's, you know, the tweets don't get out. I see the numbers changing on the Twitter posts where it's like it's got 5 likes, then it's got 0 likes, then it's got 10, then it's got 1, and it just is bouncing back and forth. And you can see votes being erased from polls. It's insanity, right? So what have they done to you? And did you see a lot of that in the lead up to them deleting your account on Twitter specifically?
Yes, and I'll give you a recap of my story, but I'll point out also they're doing this to President Trump. We've all seen the videos where even if you like or share something of his, it may be undone a few seconds later. So, you know, he's being openly censored by various big tech platforms on various, you know, attempts to infringe on his freedom of speech. Sometimes they walk it back, sometimes maybe they don't. We're even seeing them shadow ban and deboost his reach. So everyone, I think, sees it. Everyone's calling it out. In my case, it started, I guess, before the algorithm really changed, right after the Broward School shooting, where I was exposing some things on my first YouTube channel, and just using mainstream clips and calling out some of the contradictions in their logic was enough to get my channel banned without any sort of a answer, feedback, or reply or anything. You know, under the hate speech kind of generic message, that's all they sent me. They wouldn't reply. And that was a month before my firstborn child was born, and we had just gone full time. As you know, I've told you my story before personally. And, you know, as a father, expectant, you know, as a husband, I had to figure out what the hell I was going to do for the next couple of months to pay rent, much less rebuild a YouTube business and a YouTube truth channel that had just been destroyed. So long story short, I started to do a lot more interviews. I started to network more. I started to make more friends. I made a lot of new connections. And a lot of those people, I saw their stories of being censored as well. I realized that if I ever got wiped out again, I could maybe go tell my friends that, hey, they banned me. Can you give everybody a shout out, let them know I'm back? And it was almost like insurance. So when I started to see other people, you know, demonetized, when I saw stories of people whose livelihoods were destroyed, who were YouTubing after work, trying to make ends meet, they had children, they had families of their own to support. When I saw my own daughter's 17-second video of her walking for the first time, there was no words in it. It was just her walking. When that was demonetized, just a slap in the face, I realized we had to do something. So we started this Stop Bit Burning movement to just unify us all together, to have the sort of firepower it takes to economically take on not just one Goliath, but multiple Goliaths. And that's where we are. We've gathered now sort of an army of truthers, and we have a whistleblower. That's our secret weapon. He knows where to go in the code to find the digital bodies. And we have super lawyers that are looking at this too. So I think it's a matter of time and timing and momentum. So we're building momentum now. Next phase is going to be, hey, everybody, chip in $5, because at that point, with tens of millions of people on board, many hands make light work, and it'll be cheap to even take on Google. So that's kind of the elevator pitch. And, you know, my experience has been plus 30,000 subscribers 1 month down to none or negative, actually kind of losing a few hundred a month over 14 months. So they wouldn't even let me get new subscribers for over a year. One of the times that I had come onto your channel right after the best-selling Q book, you had did a plug, told people to go to my channel and follow it. and nothing happened. And you have a huge channel. So that was proof right there that you saw that they had just blocked it down with a freeze algorithm, whatever that is. But that's kind of my story. And that's what led to the movement.
No, I remember watching in real time. It was the craziest thing. That's why I had you on the channel, because I'm thinking, you know, we've known each other for quite some time now, years at this point. And when we first, you know, met, and I had watched some of your channel, and we were both doing some of the Q stuff, and I was like, you know what, this guy gets it. You know, let's talk to him. Let's see what he's about. You know, we connected, right? But as we saw, both our channels began to grow. And in this same time period after which we, you know, kind of started hanging out and talking more, we saw this all happen in real time. This all played out. I remember going on and looking at the, there's that website that I can't think of the name of right now, where you used to go and watch the live subscriber counts. One of those aggregators for all the YouTube numbers. And you could go there, and I was watching your channel, and it literally just had you at the same exact number every day, with 0 plus or minus on the subscriber count. And this was for like days at a time. And I'm thinking, there's no way that's real, because you were putting up content. As you said, you came on my show. I plugged you. I've seen other people, you know, I plug on the show. They get, you know, maybe 1,000, even more subscribers or something like that. I've seen it happen with people who've come on the show here. So it's just amazing to see the level to which they'll go to silence the politically active, you and me and others, right? As a form of suppression, as a form of, you know, basically manipulation and meddling. They talk about Russian meddling in the election with what, $100,000 on Facebook. Well, imagine if you run Facebook, then how much can you meddle there? Imagine if you run Google, how much can you meddle there? Dr. Robert Epstein pointed out aptly that with a simple message, Facebook could manipulate 10 million plus people, right, into voting a certain way, or just if they targeted at certain people, they could effectively change the outcome of an election. And so now they're doing it. I just saw a news story the other day, and I'll try to pull up a link to show everyone. But now they've come out and said, yeah, we're putting out messages to get people to go out and vote now. So it's just normal now. So they've obviously adapted and decided that they're either going to win this election, or they're going to be destroyed via antitrust and lawsuits once Section 230 reform comes. So I just think we're in that period right now where if we keep it up, we keep up the pressure, then they're just going to keep exposing themselves. They're going to keep trying to make these wild grabs at power and to keep silencing us. So, you know, to everyone out there, give a quick plug to BitBurning, because I want anyone out there who's another influencer, if you have a big following, or if you just want to get involved with the movement and you don't have a big following, whatever it is, tell them where they can go get that info, because I think it's really important that we kind of plug that to get people aware, you know, what it is, and they can go get more information. So tell them about it.
Well, it's an easy pitch. If you're tired of being censored yourself, or if you're tired of seeing your favorite content creators and truth media and authors or radio show, whatever it may be, being censored, and you want to support a movement that is designed to build enough power and momentum to actually do something about that in court, check out stopbitburning.com and get on the newsletter, get on the updates. That way you know what's coming next. If you're a VIP, which is a content creator, we want you on there because you're going to be part of the class action lawsuit that we're building. You're part of the class. It's very specific. Basically, those who have been monetarily impacted by their freedom of speech being taken away. Not every single person who's been banned, by the way, on Twitter and Facebook is going to be part of that class. This is strategically focused around content creators and independent media people, because we have damages. You know, we've lost a lot of money because of what they've done, and because of the way the law is, you know, looking, we're going to be able to financially hit these companies for what they've done to us in a big way, and set a precedent, maybe even at the Supreme Court if necessary, of protecting all Americans' freedom of speech, and therefore the world's freedom of speech, you know, in essence, because, you know, if it gets out here, it'll get out everywhere. So this is it's designed to break censorship. It's designed for those who are tired of whining about it and want to do something about it. Not to be mean, but there's a lot of us out there who are complaining a lot about this issue, but not doing anything about it. And there are some out there who are doing something about it. Maybe they're independently wealthy, and that's great. I want them to succeed. This is for those of us who can't afford to take on Google, to be frank. And
Well,
yeah,
yeah, just kind of to
yeah,
stop you there. Let's talk about people like, you got Laura Loomer and her lawsuits. You got Jason Fick and what he's doing with his lawsuits. And we're just one of many who are involved. And I want to be very clear to say this isn't about a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit that we're trying to get rich from. We're trying to be compensated for the damages that were caused by this unfair censorship, and we're gonna seek to set precedents for the future to allow other people to have freedom of speech, to not suffer the same way that we had to. And that's really, I think, the ultimate goal, which we have to formulate legally with a lawyer, a legal team, really.
yeah.
And it's going to be very costly, but I really want to make it clear to the audience that what you're doing is probably, in my opinion, from what I've seen out there, one of the best, most cohesive, with enough people to actually make a difference. Because if you look, we got big people involved in this. I don't know if the list is really public or out yet, but we have a lot of big names that are attached to it as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of people who are sick of the censorship. And even if you're watching this channel, let's just hypothetically say you may be a liberal and you may be a little afraid to come out. Remember, it's not just conservatives. It's not just Christians. It's not just Republicans. We're doing this for everyone. We're doing this for everyone's freedom of speech. This isn't about your specific affiliation. It's, have you been damaged by the wrongdoing of these major tech companies, and do you want them to change their ways and their practices? So just putting that out there for anyone, because I know, believe it or not, Dustin, I've actually heard that a lot of people watch this channel who aren't necessarily very conservative or very any religious, even in some cases, but that doesn't mean that they don't care about what's happening in this country. That doesn't mean they don't care about the Constitution. That doesn't mean that they don't care about freedom of speech and protecting the rights of citizens. And if you are one of those people and you do have a big following, I'd encourage you to look up this information that Dustin's sharing, because at the end of the day, if we don't address this problem now, we will have a very big problem with our society going into the future. And it's only going to get worse. And if you want to know what it's going to be like, go read George Orwell's 1984. Go read any dystopian novel that talks about censorship in the future. Most of them usually get it fairly correct with where this goes from here. So, that I just wanted to throw that in there, Dustin. So keep going.
I want to add to that also, because you brought up a good point. Because of my involvement with organizing the movement, it may actually be, and I think it might be true, we're not 100% sure yet. It may be that I don't qualify to be part of the class, so I may not even get like a payout if we win. But on the other side of that, I've also spent over $10,000 of my own money to get this going by hiring the super lawyer Todd McMurtry to give us a way to attack them on a legal basis. He did a research project where we have a viable attack strategy that could win with a class action antitrust lawsuit. So that, in theory, gets us, it's untested, but it gets us into discovery, where Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower, who also is not part of the class because he's not a censored content creator, he has nothing to gain from that side of this. He will then be able to do maximum damage by going directly into the code and showing us the damage that they've done to all of us. And the goal is to expose it. Frankly, I hope that you and many others get a big payday. I think you deserve it. I think people have worked really hard to tell the truth, and people like Anderson Cooper get paid 1,000% more than us, or something much greater than that even, and they just lie all day. But the goal is to win, and the goal is to break censorship. That's what it's always been about. And we're not going to settle for less than that. If I have anything to say about it, at least, I don't control this, but I will push for full justice rather than profits or anything like that. I want to see them punished. I want to see them broken up. I want to see censorship avenged.
Yeah, I mean, and look, ultimately, whatever your motivation is for doing this, I think we all share the same end goal, which is we want to have the protection of our rights. We don't want to be unfairly censored and or targeted by this system that is presented itself to the public as being an open speech platform, so it could get these special legal immunities, but then turning around in the same breath and then committing all of these acts of censorship and basically becoming publishers in the way that they manage the content on their platform. So that's why I wanted to have you on here today. What a great conversation with my good friend, Dustin Nemos. Now, I know you kind of have to be a little stealth about this, but I don't know if you want to plug. You might have another Twitter account out there. I don't know if you want to give a plug to that too.
Yeah, it's Demos Nustin. I just had to look because it's a weird name. I'm not creative, And after the second account was banned, I was just, all right, what am I going to name this thing? So I snuck it in. They actually flagged it and suspended it, and then they unsuspended it and let it go this time. But if people want to find me, and a lot of people, maybe they were talking to me in DMs on Twitter, I don't have any access to respond there anymore. But thank you for having me on, Craig. It's always a pleasure. And I want to add, by the way, it's important to understand that the hate is not just in Chaz. The hate is embedded at the very root of our society across many levels, and it's embedded in these big tech platforms. That hate is spilling over now, and we're seeing the results through censorship, and they're trying to cheat the election, but they really do hate us, and they're willing to be pretty vicious about that. And that's why there's so much abuse going on.
Yeah, and if it's not hate, it's just, I think, ignorance, and I think it's a lot of ignorance, and people who, live in a very small bubble and think that the world works a certain way and don't realize, what humility is, and understanding that, there is the truth isn't as prescribed by Google. The truth is an objective thing that we try to, we're always trying to get to over time. It's not, can't be definitively said one way or the other, except for science and the facts that we already know, which gets into a whole conversation. But that is an incredible interview. I always enjoy having you on the show. Want to make sure that people also know you have a YouTube channel called Dustin Nemos, and if you want to go check that out, go check it out. But that is where we're going to go ahead and leave it. Thank you, sir, for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you. I hope you come back soon, and I hope that we continue to make a difference for free speech and protecting the rights of all people online and their right to speak their mind. And I hope we do stop Google and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook from trying to interfere in the 2020 election and steal it for a candidate who we know what happens with Joe Biden behind closed doors with China and the rest. So we don't have to even discuss that. But thanks for coming on, Dustin. It's always a pleasure. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having me on. And the counterpunch to censorship is almost ready.
God bless. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk to Dustin at another time. And thanks for joining us here on this episode of Just Informed Talk. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Dustin Nemos, and you can go check out stopitburning.com if you want more information, and all the links will be in the description. But before we sign off here, a few more things. You can come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformYou and at informed_news. Also on Parler at JustInformedTalk. BitChute.com/JustInformedTalk is the backup channel. Plus, JustInformedNews.com is the website. And if you want to make a financial contribution and help keep this channel alive, there's Patreon, patreon.com/JustInformedTalk, where you can make a monthly donation. It's a crowdfunding website. You guys keep this channel alive and running. I also have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make one-time or anonymous donation. Links to everything will be in the description below. Now, before we go, I do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today, I want to share a very specific couple verses out of Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23. It talks about the fruit of the Spirit and what it is. It says, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. So what does that mean? That means if we want to live righteously, if we want to put our lives to God, all we have to do is embrace those things. Embrace love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and self-control. These are the qualities that we have to try to live with in our own lives and help others to find in themselves. And if we can do that, then we can overcome this evil that surrounds us. So my message to you is to understand and remember that the fruit of the Spirit is something that we can easily attain as long as we know what qualities to look for and what qualities to help others work toward. And we also have to work toward them ourselves. So my message to you is to go out there, help others, be kind, be patient, be faithful to God above, have self-control, live with kindness, and share love and joy. And these principles will help you live a righteous life. And that's my message to each and every one of you. Share that with your family, friends, and loved ones. Get the word out. and spread the gospel, fulfill your ministry. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Of course, remember to come here, hit the subscribe button, also hit it, punch it, tap it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's it for me, though. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, patriots.